Doctors told women to lose weight, but something worse was going on. Let's all take a chance to meet Katie Smith. Smith is not really your average 24-year-old, considering she had something strange emerging in her stomach and nobody could figure out what it was, not even the doctors. Within such a short time, Katie's stomach started to grow so fast that it seemed like she was pregnant. Strangely enough, this did not happen at all. Pregnancy test after pregnancy test continued to say that she was not pregnant. Here's some background information on Smith. She is currently 28 years old, born and raised in Swansea, Wales. In 2014, she started to notice that she was gaining more and more weight, and it looked like she was 9 months pregnant. Katie maintained a healthy regime and was conscious of her body shape. While she was happy with her curves, she also spent a considerable time in the gym, which made her excessive weight gain even more annoying. During that time, Katie felt insecure about attending her work Christmas party because of how she looked in the clothing. She felt like she was too overweight. Little did she know that bigger problems were to come. Despite her efforts, Katie's stomach continued to grow. She was keeping up a healthy lifestyle with exercising and dieting, but it was gradually getting larger. The absolute worst thing? Putting in the effort but seeing the opposite results. The change was so gradual that Katie could barely detect something off. However, she was trying to resist the weight gain and it wouldn't budge. No workout was enough to stop this monstrous weight gain from forming. Katie could no longer avoid this weight gain. Everything she was gaining went directly to her belly, and on top of that, her stomach was hard as a rock. What do you think was going on? What do you think she did next? Katie's stomach was changing texture, and now she felt strange to even touch. Despite the frustration she felt, she was sure it would pass with time. Unfortunately, as much as we may want something, it's not always how it happens. At this point, Katie was a size 8 and she couldn't fit in her dresses. However, she was afraid to go to the doctor. She spent her adolescence with her father as a doctor, and this made her a bit weary. Katie had no clue that something bigger was approaching. Her only explanation pointed to one thing. However, she wasn't exactly ready to believe it. I wonder what it was. What do you think it could be? Katie looked at all the factors, and everything pointed to pregnancy. She was gaining weight at a rapid speed, she was constantly tired, and she had a serious boyfriend for many years. What else was the explanation? At this point, she understood that she had to be pregnant. She and her boyfriend started to get a bit nervous. They definitely didn't plan for this, but it wouldn't be totally unexpected given her situation. Katie had been dating her boyfriend Jamie Gibbons for 10 years at this point, and they fathomed the idea of her being pregnant. They were surely not prepared, but they felt like they owed it to themselves to check. Katie took a pregnancy test that said she was not pregnant, and the two were totally shocked. Was the test wrong? She took another. However, it yielded exactly the same results. What did this mean? The couple was not only surprised, but their concern was going stronger. A million thoughts popped into their heads as they considered what was going on. Maybe she was seriously sick or had a miscarriage. Either way, they had to find out. Despite her fears about doctors, Katie decided that she would finally see a professional. While she went there to receive answers, that was not actually what happened. The doctor simply told her that she was just fat. Despite being told this, Katie knew in her heart that something was wrong. The weight gain did not severely impact her daily activities, so she just ignored it. Still, part of her wanted to get to the bottom of it. Everything pointed to pregnancy, but still, she did not understand why she wasn't pregnant. Although she didn't totally believe the doctors, she decided that they were the professionals and they probably knew best. Part of her wanted to be pregnant. That would mean that the problem would go away and she would know what was going on. However, her stomach continued to grow for an entire 2 years before she got an answer. Each month it got larger and larger. While she was having a normal day at the office, something strange happened. Katie began to feel lightheaded and suddenly collapsed. She didn't remember anything, but when she awoke, her coworkers explained that she fainted. Katie soon realized that seeing a doctor was now urgent. Her GP told her that everything she was experiencing was because of stress, and she just had to continue on with her life like before. Soon, the problem would go away. What do we know about passing out from stress? Is this possible? Katie wasn't believing the doctor's explanation, but the doctor tried to tell her that everything was okay. For starters, he ruled out that she was not pregnant. As much as she tried to avoid the annoying and repetitive questions, everybody wanted to know about her pregnancy. She had to repeat herself over and over again. She could not ignore it. Every single day, Katie had the same conversation with people. The doctors say I'm just overweight. At this point, she was becoming pessimistic. It looked like nothing would ever change. She was feeling hopeless. People were always asking her about a due date, and she decided to start lying to spare the embarrassment. Katie started to believe that she was just overweight, so this is what she told people when they would question. As she was waddling around with a ginormous stomach, she began to feel insecure about the way she looked. Nothing was fitting her, and she had to resort to the maternity section at this point. How embarrassing. She recollected at this time and said, "I remember trying to shop for clothes in December 2016 and nothing would fit. I was skin and bone on top, then this massive lump and normal legs. The only thing that was going to fit was maternity wear." Despite everything that was going on, Katie was extremely stubborn about receiving any help. She blacked out many times at work, had problems breathing, and was experiencing life-altering weight gain. That made her realize it was time. Still, with all of this, it was only because of her coworkers that she realized she needed to get checked. You may ask yourself why Katie did not take better care of herself, and many would agree. It was definitely strange how long she was taking. Katie wanted to live her life as normal as possible, and this meant ignoring her circumstances. After passing out 4 times, enough was enough. The next doctor had yet another irrational reason. He said it was due to her acne medication. Katie felt like the medical professionals were taking her symptoms too lightly. They rationalized it all by other factors in her life, and she was starting to get fed up. It came to the point where she couldn't take it any longer. This reason did not make sense considering that she stopped taking the medicine several months prior. Smith insisted on another reason, and this led her to a second doctor. The doctor was sure she was pregnant, but the blood tests were negative. Since the blood tests were negative, her GP decided to try ultrasound. Katie could not even walk without having problems breathing. That was when she knew that this was getting out of hand and she needed answers. The doctor insisted on checking if she was pregnant with an ultrasound. While she may not have gotten what she expected, she found something else that would help Katie with what she needed. Katie carefully watched the doctor during the ultrasound. She noticed her expression change, and it was clear something was off. Her eyes got bigger, and she had a look of fear come over her instantly. The doctor immediately asked for help, and that's when Katie went numb. Her boyfriend tried to help her out, but he could not calm her down. Were they finally going to get to the bottom of her weight gain? While the screen was blank, it was clear that something else was going on there. At this point, the doctors and Katie were all aware that her life was in severe danger. Finally, someone was taking her seriously. While the options could go on forever, they needed a CT to pinpoint the cause. Katie was beginning to freak out, and this was completely valid. She couldn't help but expect the worst and waited desperately for that CT. She went in for an emergency CT, and this was when the most shocking news of all was delivered. Katie was told to sit down and prepare herself before hearing the news. She held her boyfriend's hand and waited anxiously for the results. Well, for starters, she was definitely not pregnant. The weight gain in her stomach was actually an ovarian mass that was growing. Within seconds, Katie's entire life was destroyed and she did not know what to do. The doctor also felt unprepared. The cyst was far from normal. It was 24 centimeters thick and lined her stomach wall. Although she had her answers, her life was still at risk and they needed to act fast. Wow, did you see that coming? If you're unfamiliar with what a cyst is, it's basically a fluid-filled sac that can grow on a woman's ovary. They are usually not harmful, but in Katie's case, there was no chance of it going away without help. A cyst can be harmful when it gets in the way of someone's life or blocks the blood supply that directs to the ovaries. Katie's case was special because this cyst was extremely large and very dangerous. After a month, Katie was discussing her options with a specialist who went over something in detail. She still remembers what the consultant's face looked like after seeing the size of her stomach. Even though the consultant had a calm tone, his face showed it all. He had never seen anything like it before. The hardest part was that all the professions were not sure how big the cyst actually was. The doctors added that she may have multiple cysts growing inside of her, and they could all be attached to organs. Katie was in disbelief, but it was clear to her that surgery was the only option by now. The doctors were clear that she had a cyst in her stomach, but they did not know how it was impacting her body. She was experiencing side effects from the cysts, and she did not know why. The doctor working with Katie was in shock when he heard what the other doctors reasoned her case. Although he wasn't exactly sure of the size of the cyst, he was ready to take control. He was not going to dismiss her. The only thing the staff knew for sure was that Katie was going to lose one of her ovaries. She was also going to be hospitalized for an extended period of time, depending on how large the cyst was. Katie did not know what to do.